Disclaimer. We are two regular guys who love to talk Bone Thugs and Harmony. We do not represent Bone Thugs or any Bone affiliate. We are also not Bone Thugs experts. The views and information you hear in this podcast may be based on personal opinion. Please feel free to leave corrections and clarifying information in the comments. And enjoy.
He's 99 is where you find us like an where we come from, so right.
So here we go.
Let's move to the family reunion.
Yeah.
And okay. So family reunion, just like with the last one, I'll tell you, came out May 26, 1998. So we now have Art of War fully in our systems. We're totally under the belief that Busy Bone at this point is so far, distant. It's made even more, aware to us now that we have no Busy Bone feature with Mo Thugs. We saw him missing completely through Art of War videos. We got a new album looking a lot like the first one. Classic Fist Pyramid, whole cast of artists. I think one of the first things I noticed was, there was a white guy on it. As a white guy, that's one of the first things I noticed. I noticed each Bone member in each of the corner, and I was excited as fuck. I don't know about you, but I'm a huge Art of War fan, so I was just like riding the high of Art of War by the time this fucking dropped out.
Yeah, and I think, did Heaven's movie drop? Heaven's movie came out at this point, I believe, right? Yeah, because that came out in 97. Wow, so this came out before Heaven's movie. Man, it's funny. In my mind, I remember it differently. Like, I remember Heaven's movie dropping first, and then I got Mo Thug 2. Oh, no, I didn't. You know what? You're right. I didn't get Heaven's movie till 98. Yeah, okay. This makes sense.
Heaven's movie and Mo Thugs release though, so that I will say I remember that putting that kind of to rest a little bit. Like, does Busy have anything to do with this? And I remember on the back of Heaven's movie seeing that Mo Thugs fist, and it made me feel better after not seeing him on Mo Thugs 1, anywhere in any Art of War visuals, and nowhere on Mo Thugs 2. You felt completely fucked at this point. Like, there could be a Busy issue. Seeing that Mo Thugs fist made you feel good. Seeing Bone in the Thugs Cry video made you feel good.
Yeah, and actually keep in mind too the epic Busy Mo Thug moment, if not the only Mo Thug moment, appearing in it was either Trials and Tribulations or Day and Night. It was Trials and Tribulations with Poetic Hustla'z. Like, that moment was, just seeing Busy in that video was it was false hope in retrospect, but it was definitely a highlight moment in that video. And for Bone fans, seeing that Busy, it was somewhat down with Mo Thug. Yeah,
it was a Trials and Tribulations video, and pretty epic. Him just on that church stairs the way he was for no reason. It's one of those things that I've always questioned. You know what I mean? And I think when we get Busy on this show, it'll be one of those kind of random questions to throw at him. He's kind of touched on the Mo Thugs thing and why he wasn't involved, and that was just Busy and kind of Lazy's thing, and but it was always so mind-blowing that he wasn't there. Busy said it a lot in the songs. He had the tattoo on his arm, and I think when we saw him in the Poetic Hustla'z video, which I do believe was 97, I think that video dropped before Heaven's movie. I think that gave you hope that we were going to see Busy involved in some way.
Yeah, and it was pretty disappointing. I don't know where he would be because the four corners have the four bones. I mean, you could imagine that he'd be on the pyramid, but that would make him the god of the whole group. And I did love that all their faces were on it.
I've always tried to picture what it would have been like with him on some of these songs.
I wonder if people got Tony Tone confused with Busy Bone.
I'm going to point out too that the first record at the bottom said featuring Bone, just Bone. So I think you were supposed to read Mo Thugs and just put it together like Mo Thugs, Bone Thugs, got it. This one at the bottom listed each Bone member solo by like their solo name, Lazy and Crazy
Right.
first, and we didn't see the Bone thing. I don't know, what that move was either. If anything, it would have been fucking smart to put Bone Thugs and Harmony on this cover. They didn't. By the way, the baby in the bottom corner is that Crazy Bone's kid, or what's the deal?
Yeah, I always wondered about that. Who, was that? I mean, he's underneath Crazy, so you figure it's one of Crazy's kids. I wonder if that's one of the members of So Throat in the Game, Bloodline Harmony, like when they were an infant.
I would assume it's the daughter, but hey, let's jump into it. Mo Thug's intro. It's probably going to be the intro to Disc 2.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yep, yeah.
Most likely.
This cover was something else. I'm still reflecting on Boogie Night was all underneath the pyramid. Just, I looked at it for hours, but yeah, Mo Thug intro is definitely going to be the intro to Disc 2.
I'm gonna just say too, and again, talking artwork, okay, and this is something for the new fans that may not have experienced this CD, the actual physical CD, or may not remember experiencing, or may have never experienced CDs themselves. Again, artwork and shit was so important. You opened this up. Now this disc folded all the way out the long way, if you remember. And it had the members, all of them, all over the panels, continuing the white background, just them cut out. I remember that made it so easy for people to scan this and be able to use the images in like fan art. But it was so fucking good seeing all those members. And then it also had the picture of Bone all together, minus Busy, wearing like the Kevlar vests, all in like the black riot gear.
They just knew how to do it back then. The imagery, the branding, the storyline, the universe that they created, and they got away from that. And but back then this was, I think we were pinpointing this as the end when they stopped keeping with this folklore, or maybe it was, I guess Resurrection kind of was like the last time, because Thug World Order didn't have that same feel to it.
No,
I don't know.
Thug World Order felt like something else.
Yeah.
Well, Mo Thugs 3 tried to continue. I think Mo Thugs 3 tried to continue, and Crazy was just out of it, and it just wasn't. It was visually continued, but it just wasn't, audio. The audio wasn't there come Mo Thugs 3, but visually I will say Mo Thugs 3 like tried to continue what they were doing.
Yeah. No, I agree with that.
It just tried to green it up.
It felt like it tried to continue with it and then kind of modify it, but it kept it in the same. It felt like they were still trying to keep the tradition alive, and I appreciated that. But I guess let's wait to get to that one. So right now on this track list, we got the Mo Thug intro. We agreed that it's going to be the disc 2, and then Mighty Mighty Warrior to me is a disc 1 track.
Yeah, I agree.
How do you feel about Mighty Mighty?
I agree.
That's another iconic Mo Thug track right there. Followed up by another. I'd say Mighty Mo Thug is a disc 1 track.
I think it definitely makes it, up in the air if it's 1 or 2. Again, I'm just going to say again that I think Lazy is going to spread this out so much that you're going to see a little bit of good and bad on each one. But in terms of how we're trying to do it, it would go on my disc too, but I think it makes it.
Okay. You weren't like a Bananas Soulja Boy fan? Like for me, it was like Soulja Boy could do no wrong in Mo Thug. And I really like that one. I keep thinking of the line, I see right through you like water. And I think Lazy had a good verse on it. It was just that Soulja Boy. I was like, man, Soulja Boy could have just breathed on an album, and I would have been like, oh yeah,
it's a great song. I'm just, I'm thinking of the politics, what Lazy Bone's gonna try to highlight. He's not gonna go out of his way, I think, to highlight Soulja Boy. I think we're gonna see an abundance of Lazy Bone and Flesh and Bone and shit on these discs.
Must be, gotta be, Mighty Mo Thug.
Yeah, it's so good.
It's gotta be on there.
What a singing motherfucker. He's so good. So much talent from that guy.
Yeah, it's like Bo Jackson. Just what a shame his career was cut short, and it's just a shame that Soulja Boy didn't get that. I mean, he did come out with his own 4 or 5 solo albums, but it didn't have that Mo Thug behind it, the production and all that.
Yeah.
I wish he had at least just one album with a major, just so we could hear what Soulja Boy could have sounded like with a full album with a full high-end production staff and a high-end advertising crew behind him.
It's hit or miss once an artist takes control of their career like that, because whoever was the filtering force, whether it was Really Crazy and Lazy or whether it was somebody else, they knew how to filter 2 great albums here. You got to figure, when you look at these and you see Poetic Hustla'z have a solo on a compilation, or Soulja Boy or Too True, they didn't just record that one song. They recorded a bunch of shit, and somebody picked out, okay, Mighty Mo Thug is the one that should go on there. Okay, to think that this guy was being flawless at that time would be fucking crazy, because that's nobody. But whoever did the filtering process on these first 2 albums knew what the fuck they were doing. They knew what the best songs were, the cream of the crop.
Maybe he was just having Crazy Bone around to say nah, or yeah, or just him being there probably brought the best out. I don't know. But maybe somewhere down the line on Beyond the Harmony, we may actually get to the bottom of it. Like, what made those first 2?
It felt like a bigger group contribution on the first 2. Like, even though you knew it was a Crazy and Lazy thing, you still felt like Flesh and Wish were like in the room as well.
Right.
And it felt like Bone really had some say, versus when you get to the third one, you absolutely know that's a fucking Lazy Bone thing.
Yeah, and that's the thing I never even considered was how, and I don't even know if the questions were asked were how did the recording process go for this album, for both of the first 2 albums? Were they all like independently recorded and then they just kind of all brought their stuff together? Or was there one studio with book time where like everybody was kind of there going in and out of the studio? I'm surprised that I haven't seen that question asked. I don't know. Have you?
No, I haven't. My guess is that the producers had a overwhelming hand in dealing with every artist. I don't think Crazy and Lazy were as involved as like we think in our heads. I mean, I do think they were like overly involved. So before somebody freaks out on me, I think they were really involved. But I would say that the people producing this record, Archie, probably Romeo, I think Damian Elliott, although Crazy Bone probably produced a lot of this. At least the second one. But I don't think they were all together like that. If they were, I will say that Lazy Bone was probably that dude out of all of them to be there all the time.
Yeah, who was listed as the executive on this? Is there an executive producer?
Yeah, I think Crazy and Lazy are listed as executives on the first 2.
Yeah, I was going to do that as well. Heart of It, I mean, I don't know. I don't even remember that song. Yeah, it's not making it. This next one is one of my favorite, and I don't know a single other person besides myself that like The Queen is one of my favorite Mo Thug songs of all time.
I love that song.
And you do? Okay.
I love it. I would be disappointed if this isn't at least on disc 2.
Yeah, for me it's a disc 1 for me, but I know I'm kind of nuts like that. You're the first person I know that likes it. I used to play it to so many people, and they're like, "Man, turn that off." And I'm like, "Dog, listen to the second verse. No direction, nowhere to turn." Man,
I think it's her.
The Queen.
I mean, I don't think people really loved Thug Queen for the same reason they didn't really love Too True, which is they were higher pitched females that they didn't really carry a ton of harmony. I don't think people loved Thug Queen. I really don't. I know she's part of Ghetto Cowboy. I don't think people loved her. I fucking she could have been the third member of Too True, truly. But I really like that song. So
Yeah, I loved everything Thug Queen did with Mo Thugs and Crazy Bone Soul album. She's batting 1,000 as far as the releases have gone. Plus that one Mo Thug track that didn't make the album. I forgot the name of it, but I recently heard it, and she was good on that too. I always like the Queen. She's on my disc 1. She's on your disc 2. The Queen's that. Plus Crazy Bone's on the track. So yeah, and then this next one is obviously disc 1.
Oh, Riot. Yeah, of course. There's no way.
Were you gonna say something else? Were you gonna say something else about the Queen?
No, I was I was totally with you on that. I was just gonna say, I am a fan, but I also kind of like, on the down low really like Too True, even though you've heard me kind of shit on him a bunch.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was because I had the CD at the time of the CD. So you started to love what you owned and listened to a lot. So I don't know if it was that or what. But I on the low really like Too True. And I like the Queen as well. I like Thug Queen.
Yeah, and Too True Ballers Flossin' is a classic. I love that track. I mean, it's a rap classic in my opinion. And that one, the weed track they did with Crazy and Lazy, that was a really good song on that album as well.
I don't
I guess we're gonna have to cover that.
I don't think that's gonna make it on one of these 2 discs, but there's no way that weed shit shouldn't. I don't think it will be, because I think it's so far down the ladder of being considered that I think the only shit that's gonna be considered from the 2 spin-off albums, Trials and Tribulations and A New Breed of Female, are gonna be the 3 singles that came from it.
Right.
But just while we're on it, that weed song is one of the top 10 Bone Thug weed songs ever.
Yeah, I agree. All right, so this next one is obviously a disc 1,
right?
If not the second
just real
biggest.
Quick, so Riot, I mean, we didn't dive into it, but Flesh and Bone solo. The thing that made this a big deal was you didn't get a ton of Flesh and Bone on the first one. He's all over like the imagery, but if you think of the first record, we only get Flesh and Bone, to my knowledge, on Rumors and War, and then he's on Family Scriptures, I believe, as well.
Mm-hmm.
So you didn't get him a lot, and then they turn around and we get a solo, and Flesh and Bone solos, especially for this time, are very hit or miss. Okay, because we'd experienced the Flesh and Bone solo album, and at this time, especially at this time, that's the only Bone solo album we've experienced, is the Flesh and Bone one. So we know he's hit or miss. So I think when I first saw the track list, I was like, oh boy. But Riot is an expectation exceeding track.
Yeah. Yep. Well, and in the Flesh and Bone first solo album, it kind of makes sense because that came out around the time Mo Thug Family Scriptures came out. So you didn't want to oversaturate the market with too much Flesh at that time. And it was a nice thing to get a little bit of, Flesh having his own solo track on this. It was kind of cool to have it like that.
I wonder too if there was maybe some kind of, because he was with Def Jam and shit. So I wonder if having him on tracks was costing them money to Def Jam that they just couldn't fuck with, and that's why we didn't see him a lot, because his solo came out in November of '96, so it came out very close, to the Family Scriptures. Family Scriptures came out the 5th, and then Thugs by Flesh and Bone came out the 19th. So they came out the same month.
Yeah, and that's what I was saying, was that month of November was Mo Thugs, Flesh Bone, Machiavelli, and The Dogfather. Like, that was a colossal month for rap.
My guess is they probably had to pay Def Jam a bunch of money to have Flesh and Bone on here.
But keep in mind that the show, Everyday Thing, that was a Def Jam album, right? Def Jam released. The show came out on Def Jam. So, I don't know how the contract was worked out. Maybe they had, it's like, hey, you get Flesh signs with you, but we could still use Flesh because he kind of was in Bone Thugs and Harmony. That's another good question that maybe we get to the bottom of it to find out the specific details of what Fleshbone's contract was with Def Jam and what sorts of business could Ruthless Records do to exploit the likeness of Fleshbone. Did they have to pay per time? Because that is an excellent question. And did it affect any of the original Bone albums? Or I guess it was just going forward. Because Flesh was on BTNH Resurrection a whole lot. So I guess maybe his Def Jam contract expired at that point.
Right. He was out by then. I'm fairly certain he was out by then. I think it was just this time period that he was in that shit. So, but yeah. So Riot obviously on there. Track 7, all good. I mean, we don't need a big conversation on that. That's obviously on there. That was the second single. No, that was the first single. All Good was the first single. Yeah. First single from this.
Yep. I wonder whose boat that was in the video.
Go first? Yeah, I was just gonna say, what makes you go, this is the one out of all these? Because I mean, we've gone over now 7 songs. It's 16 tracks. Again with R&B. So going back to Trey, Take Your Time being first, and now switching it, and knowing that Felicia isn't Lazy Bone's wife yet, anything like that. In fact, I think, I don't know if it was true that Crazy and her were romantically involved or not, but they were ready to push her as the thing now. In fact, I don't believe Trey is even in the situation come Disc 2. That's the other thing we didn't touch on. We saw a cast change for this one.
Yep.
Not as big as the cast change we'd see on Chapter 3, but we did see a couple people drop out. Some new people be added in. Thug Queen, Powder P, Felicia. These are all new members. Some other guys that I just don't even think count.
Well, we noticed there's no Too True on this album, which kind of implied to me that
Two Trues in there. They're on that.
They are? What? Oh, okay, yeah, because they were okay. All right, Too True still around. All right. So actually, nearly the entire original cast survived the cut, didn't they? Is there anybody from the first album that didn't make it over to the second? I think that also helped. Trey, the second album was the
no Trey.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, but I think the continuity helped make the second album a success because you did have some of the originals, and then you introduced some new characters, and so it gave it that same continuity that was lacking on that part 3, which I think that was a big issue there.
Yeah, it looks like all we really lost was Trey, and then we added, they added some shit, and maybe that's what it was. I wasn't really into them adding like MT5. I don't know if you remember what that was, but they were 5 brothers. They R&B. They just sang. They were good. I mean, they're not good. And maybe they were like the Trey replacement. But, there was nothing unique about them. It wasn't like we just found 112 or some fucking shit. None of them were unique. It didn't matter.
I remember thinking that too. I just remember thinking, why? I mean, I didn't think that they weren't. I thought that MT5 was talented to be recording artists, but I just didn't feel like they made sense on this album, even though MT, Mo Thug, that made sense. But outside of their name, it didn't make much sense to me.
Yeah, and I think their name came from all their first names started with M, and they all had the last name, and there were 5 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, and they were brothers, and hey, they're talented, but it's like, what the fuck is the purpose of signing these guys? You have such a large, roster right now. And in looking at this point, something else to point out, it's now 1998, so we've seen Trials and Tribulations and A New Breed of Female come out, okay, because those both came out in 97. September 9th was Too True, November 11th was Poetica Hustla'z. So we actually have, at this point in the game, the first compilation and 2 solos. So it's like, what the fuck business do you have signing MT5? Do you think there was ever like a thought we're gonna put their album out?
Yeah, that is kind of maybe they ponied up a lot of the money to make that album happen. You know, sometimes that kind of thing happens.
Yeah, I don't know, but either way, back to All Good. All Good is on there. This is easy to blaze through. The next song, Ghetto Cowboy. I mean, you don't need a big discussion on that.
Would you agree though that Ghetto Cowboy is the number one Mo Thug track of all time?
Has to be. It's on the fucking Bone. It's on the best of Bone Thugs. It's so big. That song is so big that Bone considers it a Bone Thug song.
Yeah. and man, you know, Powder P, what a legend he became. just from half a verse. It wasn't even a full verse. It was like a few sentences. Everybody wanted to know about Powder P.
Yeah. And that little half a fucking verse got his face on the cover.
Yeah.
I never understood.
Was he on one of the Posse tracks?
He's got hair on the cover. In the album and he looked like Powder from the movie Powder in the fucking Ghetto Cowboy video. But yeah, this is the biggest Mo Thug song of all fucking time.
It was monumental, and yeah, I think everybody has their own Ghetto Cowboy song story.
Just to highlight, you know, Ghetto Cowboy. Ghetto Cowboy is their highest charting. Number 15 on the top 100, number 8 on R&B, number one U.S. rap, and once again charting Rhythmic Top 40, which, you know, Rhythmic Top 40 is such a weird lineup of fucking music. Made number 31. Oddly, All Good actually beats out Ghetto Cowboy on the Rhythmic Top 40, coming in at 21. But Ghetto Cowboy, besides that, is their best one. To get number 1 on the U.S. rap, I mean, Thug Devotion did number 6, so number 1 is huge, especially for the type of song it is. It's a country rap song.
It also added to that Bone legacy of innovation, the innovators, the originators. Like, they were one of the first to do a country rap song, you know, outside of Big Daddy Kane mentioning it in How You Get a Record Deal, the music video. But to actually put it together into a full song, it paved the way for all these artists doing it now. I think it's called hip hop, or there's like a lot of country rap songs now.
Oh, so much.
And it seems like it all originated from this and Cotton Eye Joe.
You couldn't have had that song though. I will say Bone has all the room in the world to call that a Bone Thug song, because it only got the pass. It only got the clearance because Crazy and Lazy dressed up as cowboys and played along, okay? And they were fucking Bone Thug, right? Meet You at the Crossroads, Thuggish Ruggish Bone, Thug Love, Bone. So the only, you know, you couldn't have put that out with Powder and Felicia and Thug Queen and fucking, you know, Poetic Hustla'z on that. It would have never done it. Same song, same beat. It never would have existed. Bone Thug playing the part, being okay, dressing up as cowboys, doing the whole thing, in my mind, absolutely made that successful. When people heard Crazy and Lazy on there, they were like, dude, if Bone's down with this, it's got to be all right.
Yeah. I gotta, after this show, I'm gonna look up to see who produced that track, because, you know, the engineering of it was phenomenal for the time period, and I want to, if I want to see who produced that, to see if they did any other tracks by Bone, because it was a really good job.
I felt like.
Oh yeah, you have the CD.
Yeah, I have a single somewhere. I actually have the fucking single somewhere. It says Romeo was one of the songwriters, and it says Crazy and Romeo were the producers.
Okay. Maybe Romeo was that magic touch that made Mo Thug, what it is.
And
You lose.
Jimmy Z, um, he did shit with Dr. Dre, Funky Flute with Dr. Dre, and I guess he was the harmonica on it. That's Wikipedia says Jimmy Z did the harmonica.
Yeah, man. That was innovative, and it embodied the best of what Bone is, doing things that hadn't been done before and doing them good and making a classic. I love Ghetto Cowboy.
I can see why Romeo wants his props. He's highly involved.
And look at that. He had a hand in All Good as well. And Mighty Mo Thug. And Mighty Mighty Warrior. Like the best tracks. Ride With a Player has Romeo and Tony. Yeah, all the best songs. Romeo's got a hand in it.
Yeah, I see he went again. I know because Romeo's been on a fucking social media like push the last couple years. I know he went through and added himself, or somebody from his camp added him. But as long as that's accurate, which I believe it is, I mean, he had a lot to do with Bone in this era. He was a fucking force. You can think of a handful of the guys that made the fucking Bone sound. People think it's just DJ Unique. I do agree. DJ Unique is like a force behind the Bone sound, but we've heard DJ Unique be involved in the latter part of their career, and it not be the same. There was a group of guys around Bone that really have made that sound, and Romeo. Just looking at these Mo Thugs albums, obviously one of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Ghetto Cowboy, greatest Mo Thugs fucking song of all motherfucking time. Disc 1. From here, you got Believe by MT5 and Crazy Bone and Lazy Bone. It doesn't make the cut. I don't think it doesn't make. There's no fucking way. No way.
You'd think that, but as I was seeing today, a lot of people were listing that as their favorite Mo Thug track, and I was like, I can't even remember how that one goes.
It's
more than one
Lazy
person.
Bone. The whole thing drops in, and the Lazy Bone Believe, and Crazy Bone starts singing, and it's Crazy and Lazy singing with MT5 the whole track. In my mind, it stands out, but I don't see where the fuck it would fit in. You got 4 discs and 2 solos to pick from. It won't make it on either one of my discs.
I'm throwing it on my number 2 just for the fans. Not so much for me, but I just listened to a snippet. I put myself on mute, and I remember that track. It wasn't one of my favorites, but I saw overwhelmingly that people were listing that one, so I'm just going to leave a note on my note. It's not my disc 1. It's on my disc 2, if anything, just for the fans.
Urban Soldier. It's a Graveyard Shift solo. Again, from a political standpoint, I think that's why you won't see that. I think the only Graveyard Shift you're going to see here is in conjunction with these motherfucking big posse cuts.
Was Urban Soldier on the Still Waters album?
If we're looking at the one that Romeo put out, it is.
Oh man, I think this one makes my disc 2. Yeah. Urban Soldier's making my disc 2. Man, I forgot about this track. This was one of my favorite. This may be one of my favorite Graveyard Shift tracks.
It is a great track. I think politics are going to come in, but I can at least see it. If we're looking to agree to disagree, I can at least see it on disc 2.
Yeah, I'm just leaving it on my disc 2. It may not make the final cut, but it's worthy. I'm not going to forget all about it like I'm going to forget about the song Too True.
And it was on the GYS solo album.
Was it? Okay. Wait, the GYS solo album, that's not the same as Still Waters?
Yeah, it was on Still Waters, same thing.
Okay.
So,
all right. Yeah, this next one I think is a disc 1 track possibly.
I love this song. It's a Crucial Conflict disc. Ain't Said No Names. It's got Tombstone from Graveyard Shift in it as well. Of course, Crazy Bone. The part I love Cat Cody in this. I wanted to
Is he
hear
the guy
them.
that does the chorus? Is he the singing dude? We ain't
Yes.
said no names, yo. I love that guy. Has he done any other songs with Bone? Because I really is he the guy that says, "Gotta get the money, man," on the Mo Thug Family Tree? Did he sing that part?
But it's great. It's great. They should have done more with him. I almost wonder if like he kind of had the pimp thing going on, and so did Ken Dog. So I wonder, unless Cat Cody's maybe in one of these groups, like they sign like For You to Know, but I thought that was maybe some singers. So I don't know, but I don't believe so. I don't think he has anything else going on. I think maybe his pimp persona clashed with Ken Dog.
Quite possibly. Although he was a singer, though. But I hear what you're saying. Yeah. Now this next one, Mo Thuggin by.
Did that make it?
Poetic
That made your disc one?
I'm putting Ain't Said No Names on disc 2 because that to make it on disc 1, it's got to be certified. You know what I'm saying? Like Ain't Said No Names. It's a disc 2 track. It's a good Mo Thug track. It's on my disc 2, not my disc 1.
I think it makes it just off the fact it's a Crucial Conflict disc. I also wondered if maybe Lazy Bone doesn't put it on there because of that, because they've been trying to put to rest all the beefs. 3-6, Crucial Conflict. They've worked hard to put those to bed. So I also wonder if maybe it doesn't for that. But either way, it's a great song. It would at least make it on there for me.
Now, as far as Mo Thuggin goes, I mean, I'm sticking that on my disc 2. It's going on my disc 2. It doesn't have to go on yours, but I'm listing it. I think this one makes it on disc 3.
I'm going to tell you why I'm not. I'm going to tell you why I'm not. I'm not listing it based on the fact that I think both singles from Trials and Tribulations are going to make it. And I don't think you're going to see too many just Poetic Hustler solos all over this fucking thing.
All right, well, I'm leaving it in my notes. It's definitely not disc 1. It's barely a disc 2. And it'll probably not make the final cut. But it's an okay song, and and I remember listening to it back in '98 a lot.
Yeah. No, it's dope. I love I love Poetic Hustlers. I've never had any gripe behind them having, I'm pretty sure they had the first one, right? They came out before Too True, or was Too True first?
I think Too True came out first, and then Poetic
they came
Hustlers.
out September, and then Poetic Hustlers was November. Who in the fuck in their right mind was like, Too True is the thing to set us off?
I think Boogie Nike could have been a big star if he had somebody writing for him, because his voice was good, his energy was good, his flow was good, but I just think his lyrics were kind of like just not top shelf. You know what I mean? Like when I heard him, I'm like, oh yeah, Boogie Nike's on. But then I'm like, like his arsenal of topics were kind of limited and vocabulary. I wish he had a ghostwriter. I think he could have been a decent rap star if he did.
I loved the whole Poetic Hustlers movement. Again, when we see them depart later on in the Mo Thugs time, that was a sad, like, losing Soulja Boy moment in my mind.
Yeah, they were like the glue. They kind of felt like the glue that kept the whole. It felt like they were one of the foundations of Mo Thug. And to not have Poetic Hustlers, it was like it's not Mo Thug without Poetic Hustlers.
Well, dude, and Mo Thugs, Graveyard Shift. We saw these motherfuckers during Eternal. We heard them shout it out.
Yeah.
So
Shasta Double Glock.
Right. So they've been there. They've been there pre Mo Thug. They've been there since '95 when we heard shout out to Mo Thug. And we didn't know.
Yeah, they were there before we even. Yeah, we didn't even know what it meant yet. They were mentioned before we even understood what Mo Thugs was. We just heard the shout out.
Right. So, but no, I don't think Mo Thuggin is on there. You Don't Own Me. No way. You couldn't convince me of this. This is a terrible song.
Yeah, no, it's not on there.
Ride with a Player. I like that song.
Yeah, I used to play that a lot. That's going on my disc too.
Yeah, it'll make my disc too, at least at this time.
Yeah, I think Ride with the Player is making my final cut for sure because I played that one a lot.
You wait till we get to this Movement disc, bro. I've listened to that song. I've listened to that thing fucking twice. I know exactly. I got like 2 songs from it. So
Yeah.
Yeah, Ride with a Player. That'll make my disc too. The Pimpin' Ain't Easy shit. No way. This is the B team right here. This is Too True getting ready to depart. MT5 and For You to Know. And I can't even remember them. I feel like that may have been another girl duo, or maybe they were singers or something.
Yeah, I remember it coming out just thinking it was okay. Like, it was okay, but I just wasn't buying it. Like, it just didn't seem plausible to me, and I just passed on it. I was like, all right, it's okay. If I made it, I'd have been happy about it, but it's not on my disc. It's not on 1 or 2 for me.
I think it felt, I don't know, that song felt like it was missing somebody that should be on it. Ken Dog, something. That song just seemed like a miss.
Yeah, somebody needed to carry that track, and Too True was to carry the track, but I don't know. Something was missing. Yeah. No.
Other Side, another giant outro. I'm always a fan when they do shit like this. This featured so we don't see the entire cast return like we did for Family Scriptures, but very close. It's got Flesh, Crazy, Lazy in it. It's got Thug Queen in it. Graveyard Shift is in it. We got fucking members of Poetic Hustla'z, Felicia, Ken Dog. Great song. I don't know why this wouldn't at least be a disc 2 situation.
Yeah, I think it would be the outro of one of the 2 discs.
Yeah. If you remember that, it was super long.
Holy cow, 11 minutes long?
Yeah, it's super long. So what it is a song, and then at the end of the song, I think Crazy Bone talks for fucking 5 or 6 minutes over the beat.
I'm gonna have to re-listen to that track. But yeah, the Other Side's making it. Anything with that many cast members is gonna make it. And it's funny. I don't know if you remember the song. It was Intro to Insanity on Poetic Hustla'z. Fleshbone was on it. But the Hustla'z, what is it? That's what about to bang. I wish that song had the whole Mo Thug over that beat. Like, there was something about that beat that I was like, man, this could just play for 3 hours and I won't get sick of it. And just having, if you don't remember what song I'm talking about, Intro to Insanity on Poetic Hustla'z featuring Fleshbone.
Yeah, no.
That one I just wish was like a 10-minute song. But yeah.
If you're keeping track, and I know we're gonna have heavy edits on this, so people don't have to go through. I think we're almost 2 hours into this conversation. If you're keeping track, though, we just picked up 10 more tracks, putting us at least 10. Mine, I picked up 10 more. I have no idea what you might have picked up, but
I'm at a total of 25.
Yeah, okay. See,
so I could only allow 5 in.
I'm at 22 right now.
I'm gonna shave down that disc too. I'm just making sure my disc 1 is a solid disc 1.
Yeah. We'll go through and do some cuts. We're gonna have to, at the end of this, come to a final 2-track list agreement, no matter what. Let's go ahead, get another break in. We're coming into part 3. Make sure you follow up with the next video. Subscribe to Beyond the Harmony, and make sure you like us on Facebook, beyondtheharmony.com.